Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Van Sickle, we got it? Pardon? We're going?
There's a red light flashing.
Sounds good to me. I believe we're good. Let's move next to roll call. Clerk Treasurer Aldridge.
Carolyn Pearson. Richard Traeger. Brian Garrison. Dale Seward. Mike Shockley.
Here.
All right, we'll move next to a special report from the Delphi Public Library. Ms. Kelly Curry, you have the floor.
Shall I address this way, or how about
Maybe
if
a
I
little
just
bit of
stand
both?
here? Okay, well, thank you for inviting me to come and talk about the library a little bit. I'm always happy to do that. I do have a few little calendars and brochures I'll set out if you're welcome to pick one up on your way. I wasn't sure how many people would be here. First of all, I don't usually go to work wearing a t-shirt and jeans, but this was the kickoff for summer reading, and the theme is Libraries Rock. So we have all kinds of activities going on all summer, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Some of you probably know this, and I know many of you in this room are library users, but we've been serving the community since the end of the 19th century, and in our current building on Main Street since 1905. We continue to do the traditional things like loaning books, providing study and meeting space, offering story hours and other programs, but we also are always looking at new ways to serve the community, offering free computer use, free Wi-Fi, and technology training. The library world is very big on planning, and in fact we're required by the Indiana State Library to have a strategic plan lasting from 3 to 5 years. Our most recent one we embarked on in the fall of 2014, so we're getting close to needing to start a new one next year. We did surveys and interviews of people in person and online, had a couple of all-day meetings, worked through all this data, and all these conversations led us to themes of the 7 themes that people wanted or appreciated from the library, which we then grouped into 3 categories. And I'm not going to read all the themes, but the categories are connections, environment, and service. And essentially, that means people want to be connected through common ground and programming and social hubs. They wanted a safe physical environment and an inviting environment. And they wanted all kinds of services, including technology, helpful staff, new materials and genres, things like that. So our current mission statement reads, "The library connects with its patrons and helps them connect with each other and with the world, provides a safe and welcoming environment full of resources for information and imagination, and responds to community needs in an ever-evolving world with creative service approaches." That's a really wonderful statement, but I think next time we're going to make it shorter because none of us have that quite memorized, which I think would be a good idea for a mission statement. But what does this all mean for you as community members and patrons? Here are some of the new things we've been doing and plan to do in the coming months. As far as programming, we have 2 adult book discussion groups that meet each month, one in the morning and one in the evening at the Brick and Mortar Pub. The morning one meets at the library. We have musical events each month on the 3rd Saturday every month except for during the summer because we have a lot of other activities going on. We have children's programs and after-school programs on coding, robotics, Lego League, Minecraft, Girls Who Code, traditional story hours every week, and summer reading, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a moment. We have regular monthly programs for families, such as Mom's Club, Teen Gaming, and Family Craft Night. And for adults, we have In Stitches, a board game night, and a cinema night every month. In February, we hosted an author visit in collaboration with the school for all middle school students. We got a grant for that. We hosted an after-school art class for elementary students in the library because you may not know that they no longer offer art at the elementary school, at least as of this year. We received a grant for that. And then summer reading programs for all ages, of course. And some of those you might have read about in the nice article that they ran in the Comet last week. Thank you very much. So we're having guitar classes, School of Rock guitar classes for ages 8 to 80. We're having an all-ages sock hop, which Bill Scheidler, the principal at the elementary school, will be the DJ for that. We're having a rock around the clock, where you create a clock using an old vinyl album and clock pieces. Painting like a rock star. You know, we're really stretching this category as much as we can. Tea and Tai Chi classes, and a totally radical 80s time travel breakout adventure for adults. And that is where I don't know if you've heard about a breakout room, where you're given a series of clues to figure out how to get out of the room. We don't really lock you in the room, but those are some of the things we're planning just for this summer. We do a lot of collaborations. Every year we do what we call Carroll County on the Same Page with the other two libraries in the county, Flora and Camden. This year we're honoring the 200th anniversary of the publication of Frankenstein. So we're reading Frankenstein, and we have a lot of other programs scheduled throughout the year on that theme. We are collaborating with the Delphi Opera House to host the library's Red Brick Theater productions. And our first play of the 2018 season is Robots, which will be the third weekend in June, which we're also tying into the Frankenstein theme that was totally unplanned, and one of those wonderful synchronicities where we were approached with a composer and playwright who had written an original opera, and it's on the theme of robots and humanity and how those compete, which we thought fit right in with Frankenstein. And then we have another play in August and then one in December. You probably know that we're collaborating with the City of Delphi on a series of community forums this year. The first one was April the 3rd on the opioid crisis, where we had law enforcement and social services and health people on a panel just to kind of discuss the status of what's going on in our community and the state. And then our next one is going to be July 10th, and the theme is What Freedom Means to Me. So we're doing it on the courthouse lawn. We have a guest speaker who is Leland McReynolds, who is a retired Army chaplain, I think it's Army, and retired minister in Brookston, and so he'll be coming to be our guest speaker. And then we have an essay contest that's open to all ages. We have categories broken down, and we're going to be giving prizes, cash prizes for those essays. So that is on July 10th. Like many libraries, we've had to stretch our genre and try to meet the needs of the entire community. So we have a lot of downloadables now that we didn't have 5 or 6 years ago. You can download ebooks, audiobooks, and video. We have 3 different vendors that provide a nice mix of those things. We have circulating e-readers, Kindles and Nooks, which don't get as much use as they used to because prices have come down enough that a lot of people are able to afford those, but we do have them if you don't have one yourself, or if you want to try one. We have online databases for everything from fixing your car to creating a legal document to learning a new language. In 2016, we added digital access cards so that all the students in the local schools from grade 1 to 12 in the Delphi Corporation could have a digital access card, which gave them access to all the online resources. Many kids, either they live in a township that's not served by the library, or their parents just haven't had time or opportunity to bring them in for a card. This gives them, access to those educational resources. We have a library of tech tools we received a grant for, so we have lots of little robots and electrical circuitry kits that we circulate and teach the kids how to use. We have a digital collection that is really growing. We have Delphi High School yearbooks going back to 1907, old school directories going back to 1913, old telephone directories going back to 1916, lots of newspaper clippings and other ephemera about the community. And then we have several Delphi neighborhood histories created by a former Delphi resident, Candy Pastor Harrison. Those are all accessible and searchable on our webpage. Let's see. Just this year, we've started building a collection of what we're calling our library of things for people to check out from the library. We did a survey, and they told us the most desired categories were arts and crafts tools, party tools like karaoke machines and bubble makers, and science discovery tools. So we started building that. We have a Cricut craft cutter, a sewing machine, a cake decorating kit, a button maker, a telescope, and a VCR to DVD converter recorder, so you can bring in your old VHS tapes and have those converted. We also have a Carroll County newspaper database that most of you probably know about. We got a grant for that a couple of years ago. So that goes from the late 1800s to 2005, which is when the Comets archive begins after that. So, and that's about it. So, does anyone have any questions for me?
You just didn't mention the coffee bee with the music.
Yeah, I did, but we don't have it in the summer.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
but we do have Coffee Beat. It's the third Saturday of every month except for this summer.
When you talk about coding, is that computer coding?
Yes. Yeah.
And the Kindle stuff, so I could bring my Kindle in there and download a book to it?
You wouldn't have to bring it in the library to download it. You would just have to be connected to Wi-Fi.
Okay.
But we can help you do it if you bring it into the library.
Does that book disappear over time, or does it just stay
It
there?
does. You check it out, and then you lose the license. So it doesn't necessarily stay on. It still shows up on your device, but you can't access it.
How long does that work for?
You can pick your checkout period, 7, 14, or 21 days. Anyone else? Yeah, Jane?
Did you say you could take your VHS and put them on DVDs?
Yes.
Is there a charge for that?
No. You would have to bring your own DVDs, or we do have those that you could purchase, a blank DVD.
Is there a limit of how many things you can?
No, you can check it out and take it home and do however many you want. Now, you can't do, you can only do things that you created. You couldn't do a commercial videotape, that you had purchased. Those are locked so that they can't be copied. But if you have home movies, things like that.
Thank you, Ms. Gary, we appreciate it. Thank you. Move next to the minutes from May 7th, 2018. Are there any additions, subtractions, deletions, or amendments to be made to this set of minutes? Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Is there a second? Second. All right, any further discussion regarding the minutes? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Sorry, I voted, I shouldn't have. All right, move next to rating and order reports from committees, boards, commissions, and department heads. Chief Mullen, would you like to supplement your report?
Thank you, Mayor. I think all of you received my original report, and then not all of the figures were in there. As you can see, I left a copy of the most current updated report. It's had 32 case reports, 7 citations, 7 warnings, 12 crash reports, 30 parking tickets, 3 handgun licenses, and you can see the news releases and the rest, and call for services that are attached. And, do you have any other questions? Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. How you go in order? Is it up here? Is it in there? Packet. Superintendent Van Sickle, do you have anything you'd like to add to your report?
Merrill Brothers, we've stopped hauling liquid biosolids for the time being. The inventory's gone down enough. If you notice, we got the asphalt crack sealed and seal coated. Young man did a wonderful job. The price was really good. We have had 2 power outages out at State Road 39 lift station, REMC related. And Yarberry began the dewatering part of the force main project today. So I'm hoping that'll get wrapped up maybe by the end of the week. Weather related, I guess. Questions?
Thank you, Superintendent Mancik. Move next to Superintendent Myers.
Evening. This month of May, we pumped 29,797,000 gallons. IPC used 24,253,900 gallons. Saturday of Memorial Day weekend, we had to replace well 1. The motor burned up in it. The Peerless came in and replaced it, pulled it and set it. The back T-test passed, so it's set back in rotation. Peerless Midwest fixed our telemetry problem, communication problem with well 4 last week. And Milestone will be finishing up the Samuel Milroy connections in the next couple of days. Down Samuel Milroy, Old Canada Road. Other than that, any questions?
Thank you,
I
Superintendent.
have one question. What's the, down there in the golf course where you sunk the new well, what's the sticks for?
That'd be for the road to the golf course that we have to move.
Oh, we got to move the road?
Yeah, we had a surveyor come in and set them to get a cost estimate of what it's gonna cost. You gotta move it out of a 100-foot radius over the well.
Any further questions for Superintendent Myers? Thank you, sir. Move next to Superintendent Lyons.
Good evening. Just touch base on a couple of things that were on the report question we all had. One of the big things we're doing is levee maintenance for anticipation of our inspection next month. And our Corps of Engineers will be here, actually this month, reviewing sometime to do an inspection on the levees, so we can do some maintenance out there on the lawn. The other thing is obviously, most of you have probably seen the asphalt work or the micro seal that's been done throughout town. They are completed. We've got quite a bit done this year due to community crossings. So we did just shy of 4 miles, I believe, 4 miles of road that we got sealed up. The only thing left to do a couple of those streets, specifically Union Street and Front Street, is to do some striping, and that's scheduled to be done tomorrow morning, so that should be done tomorrow. So, if anybody has any questions for me? That's my report for this time.
Mark's looked good.
30 minutes is up.
I don't have a question, but I want to thank Aaron and his crew for, we had a place out on the east end that needed cleaning up and they got the job done. And I want to thank you for that. Looks very, very nice now.
Any more questions for the superintendent? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for me regarding the mayor's report, board minutes? Anything?
Nope.
Area Plan Commission report, Councilman Seward?
We dealt with the short-term rentals that will be discussed later. That was about the only thing that affected the city.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Councilman Seward? Councilman Shockley, Community Center?
I guess I have to ask Jeff, have you heard anything from the gas company?
No, I have not. We sent the paperwork. I would say any day. He said it would be more than a week or two, but I have not called him like I should have.
Other than that, that's it. We're waiting on
We had to
it.
fill out 3 pages of forms on all of his stuff. And he said the engineering was done.
Mm.
So
What's
I
that?
don't know.
Is it the same forms I submitted?
Did you fill out a form on how many BTUs it takes, how much water column inches and
Yeah, I
anything
told
like
him to contact you for that.
that? And I contacted Jeremy, because he's first person.
Yeah.
Leanne probably had about 17 pages to fill out.
I got the short version of that.
Yeah, you had an engineer that was supposed to contact us probably, what was that? 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? We've never heard from him yet.
Toby's very nice. I think I'll call him tomorrow. We'll contact him.
do, ask for a John first, and then go to the commercial and ask for John first, and then he'll direct you to the right guy.
And that's not who we're dealing with, don't get very
Clerk Treasurer Aldrich, anything you'd like to add?
No, can't think of anything.
All right, well, thank you. So we'll move into old business. Proposed ordinance 2018-3, read by title alone, an ordinance regarding short-term rentals within the city of Delphi. You've been presented with two versions of this ordinance. Version A is what was presented at last meeting, or actually 2 meetings ago. And then version B makes the adjustments as recommended by the Area Plan Commission. So really the only difference between version A and version B is that in version B, non-owner occupied houses would require to get a special exemption to be an Airbnb or a short-term rental. Version A, they would have it as a permitted use, they wouldn't have to get a special exception. So that's the difference between the two versions.
There's one additional change that needs to be made to version B, and that was my error. Or A, there's, on version B, it's number 8. It says a renewal application will then need to be submitted after the expiration of 1 year, not to exceed a fee of blank, that would need to be removed. The statute says you cannot charge for it. So we can't charge for it.
They still have to do apply for the renewal, but there's just no charge.
If you require the special exception that runs through the board's zoning appeals, they would have to apply for a renewal. We just wouldn't be able to charge a fee at that time. And it should be noted that the maximum fee that can be charged for the permit itself is $150. So we don't have any say in that.
So is there a discussion amongst the council as to which version you would prefer, or whether you would like non-owner occupied properties to get a special exception, or would you rather have them be a permitted use? That's essentially the difference in these two versions.
Well, I think the having to have a special exemption gives a little more say to the community around where these may go in. They have the chance to have their voice heard, whether they like it or whether they don't like it, and why they don't or do. And it's a little, I think it's a little bit more community friendly that way.
Other discussion amongst the council?
According, this, okay, according to what Ken said, there's $150, not to exceed $150 fee, is that right?
Correct, for the initial permit, correct.
Then on the bottom of this, where on 4/3/18, it says here that a fee of $200 payable to Carroll County Treasurer must accompany this application unless petition is requested by commission, City of Delphi, or the Area Plan Commission.
That was our request to change the zoning ordinance itself. So that wouldn't be the fee for them applying for a permit. That's if somebody wants to change a zoning ordinance or file for a petition of change of zoning, that's what that fee is.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure that I understood what was going on here.
Yes, sir.
So we're on the third reading then?
Now, this would be the first reading, because we sent it to the ABC, they brought it back, this is the first reading. So, there's a motion, Councilman Seward, I believe version B is the one you expressed.
I would make a motion that we accept ordinance 2018-3 version B.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion regarding proposed zoning ordinance 2018-3 version B? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right, so I didn't get my question out. Do we have to set a fee
Yes.
now?
We can do it after first reading, which is just a second.
Okay. It's blank in there.
So So since this is something we've been dealing with for a while, is this an ordinance where we'd like to suspend the rules of procedure, put a fine amount on there, but suspend the rules of procedure to allow for passage on the same day as introduction?
And can I note B removes part 8? That's the link that Mr. Trigger's referring to.
He does what?
That's where it says that we would set a fee for a renewal application. We cannot charge for a renewal application, so when Mr. Trigger is referring to the blank, that will not be there, because that whole section, that little number needs removed entirely.
Oh, that's what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Be a special exemption, no fee.
It would be a special exception with a fee not to exceed $150. You guys can set that fee. It just cannot exceed $150. And yes, you could suspend the rules.
Would the council like to suspend the rules of procedure or hold off until next month for passage? Well, it'd be 2 months from now, next month and the month after. Hearing no motion to suspend the rules, I'll set this for second reading next month. Move next to proposed ordinance 2018-6 on second reading, read by title alone, an ordinance creating a handicap parking spot on East Main Street. Is there any discussion regarding proposed ordinance 2018-6?
I move for approval of ordinance 2018-6 on the second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move next to CF1 for properties 511 North Market. There's 2 at 117 East Main, and then a 4th at 113 East Main Street. You have been provided with a statement of benefits for these properties, which is accompanying the CF1 that they submitted right before our last meeting. If there are any questions, the city attorney would be best able to handle questions for these, but about the statement of benefits or the CF1 form itself. Would there be a motion to approve the CF1 forms for properties at 511 North Market, 117 East Main, 117 East Main, and 113 East Main?
What does this do?
Pretty much says they're in compliance with what the city council told them to do.
And allows them to proceed with the abatement. It's really a formality. I'm not even certain why it has to come from the council, but I guess I suppose to review the application.
How would I know, or how would anybody know if they're in compliance with this?
They were required with the CF1 form to attach the statement of benefits, the abatement schedule, and then just, yeah, that's pretty much all that they're required to file. So at that point, council just decides whether or not to approve what's been filed.
So you're in year 9, what we're saying. Again, then it says expired in 12/31/19. Wouldn't be so. Not to exceed 10 years, expired in 12/31/19.
That may be this particular CF1, because their estimated start date is 10/1 of 2014.
I saw that, but then above it, on line 8.
Right, no, I see. Is there any other discussion amongst the council, questions?
I move for approval of
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
I abstain.
Motion carries. All right. We'll move next to proposed ordinance 2018-7, read by title alone, ordinance repealing requirement for screening of off-street parking lots. As this would amend the zoning ordinance, this is not first reading of this ordinance. The council must decide today whether to send it to the Area Plan Commission for a recommendation. Councilman Shotley, would you like to introduce?
Yeah, this ordinance has a provision in it for fences around certain properties or businesses that butt up against residential areas. In the I don't know of in the last 25 years since I've lived in the city that it ever been used. Not saying that it hasn't been used, I just don't remember it. This come to light 4 days after we had finished the building down here. And due to we had to get a variance for the fence and also for the parking lot. Upon reviewing the driveway going in and out of the parking lot, they was convinced that there was no way that we could put a privacy fence up around the building because it blocked the traffic. It would be a safety hazard. So therefore, we went before the board and got a variance for the fence where we don't have to have it put up. I would like to see, my own personal opinion, I'd like to see that part of that ordinance taken out and leave the rest of it together. Now, I know people will disagree with me on that, which is fine, but I think that we have had new gas stations go in that were built right on the alley with no fence up, butting up to family residence. We got one right on West Main that was a brand new station. It was put back, but there was no fence behind it to begin with. And you won't find, there are several places in town that over the years that have been built that have no fences. That's why I asked the mayor if we could take and rescind that part of the ordinance or repeal it, whichever. Or if the council decides to leave it in, then that's up to the rest of the council, you know. But that's where I stand on it.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other discussion amongst the council? Yes, sir.
It still leaves the door open though. Somebody could have wants for something a special exception. One of the special exception rules can be you do this if you put a fence up. So that could still, don't we leave that still in the action, Doug, or not?
Yeah.
Would that still be, you can make certain restrictions when you give